Today is the day. The Pirates have 38 of 40 roster spots filled. The Rule 5 protection deadline is here, and some tough choices are coming. What do you protect? And who do you cut to make it work? Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? This is Locked On Pirates. I'm Gary Morgan, lifelong Bucco fan and former editor at SteelCityPirates.com, covering the team since 2019. To our everydayers, you're the engine of this show. Seriously, you make this fun. And keep your eyes peeled. The Everydayer Club launches in December. I'm going to have a lot more information for you real soon. And hey, Locked On is the #1 podcast network for daily sports podcasts. You're in the right place. So today, here's our plan. Segment 1, we're going to do the Rule 5 candidates, who they are, pros and cons, and who the Pirates need to protect. Segment 2, we're going to do how to make room, non-tenders, cuts, and why they don't have to fill the 40 right now. And then in segment 3, we're going to go a little bit bigger picture, roster health, what I expect versus what I do, and a preview of tomorrow's episode. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. The Pirates sit at 38 of 40 on the 40-man. Cam Devaney heading to Japan is already accounted for. And Ryan Harbin was added. So the big question is, how many spots do you need and who are the musts? Here are the real candidates. I want to go through as many of them as I can think of today. Esmerlyn Valdez, outfielder, first baseman. He's currently the Pirates' number 15 prospect. Big time power, 26 homers across Greensboro and Altoona. And then he led the AFL in long balls. He's got power that kind of tends to get grabbed in the Rule 5. Even if the bat is a little raw, a rebuilding club could stash a guy like this as a bench bat. And they can live with the learning curve, knowing that, if they can survive this season, they've got a real viable thing that they can develop. And that's if they can't manage to do it at this level. The case against Valdez is really just his contact consistency, defensive fit, but that kind of thump is pretty scarce. So I think this one is a lock. Brandon Bidois, he's the organizational reliever of the year, the Kent Colvey Award. He misses bats, he misses barrels, he keeps runs off the board, and he did it at every stop. He reached AAA Indianapolis to finish the year. And I mean, this is a guy that, I'm sorry, Rule 5 profile, it's tailor-made for this guy. One inning at a time, you got to ride the stuff. Transition to MLB command is always a question, but this is the exact type teams carry. You got to protect him, if only because he will absolutely get taken. He'll get taken in the first round by somebody for sure. Another one, and this one's a little bit less of a sure thing, but Antoine Kelly, not ranked. Velo jump into the triple digits, legit bat missing traits. Took a step forward this year between Greensboro and Altoona. In Rule 5, teams take flyers on big arms and let them grow. And I think that if you're worried about Kelly, that's the worry. The talent, the ceiling, it's just too much upside to just risk. He's probably not like right on the doorstep of making the bigs, at least not being counted on to do so. And sometimes that can work against a guy when you start talking about what you should and shouldn't protect in the Rule 5 draft. Because you have to think about what's plausible, really. Can a team plausibly think they could take Antoine Kelly and turn him into a bull? Well, yeah, some of his stuff tells you that they very much so could. And I think that he's going to be a risky one to let slide. And again, he's not ranked, but he's somebody that the upside really, really peeked through for. Now here's another one that is ranked, but in that same category, Wilber Dotel. He's got a new splitter and cutter layered on a mid-90s fastball and slider. When he's on, he's really on. 6 starts of 5+ innings pitched and 0 earned runs. He's also streaky. He's had 7 starts with 4+ runs. If a club roll 5, Tim, they'd have to carry him all season on the 26th man. And I just think that's a lot harder to do with starters than relievers. Now, that doesn't mean that you couldn't put him on your roster as a reliever. We've seen plenty of teams do that. And that's certainly something that could be done with a guy like Wilber Dotel. I like the arm. But given Pittsburgh's reliever logjam, this one might be a risk to leave protected, but it might be the right move. You might get away with it. And it's weird for me to say, like, I'm more inclined to make sure that I protect Kelly, who's not ranked, versus Dotel, who is in this system. But that's kind of where I lean. I really do. Anthony Solometo, I think this was one of those guys who probably 2 years ago, people like me were sitting here telling you we were going to have to deal with this in December of 2025. But frankly, as much as his pedigree and being a left-handed starter and reaching the AA level and getting a decent amount of time there, as much as that stuff adds up, the where the stuff and the command happens to be right this second, it just makes me feel like it's probably not somebody I would protect. I can't sit here and promise you that he wouldn't get taken, but I don't think he has a real solid reliever profile. In other words, I don't think this is a guy that looks like, yeah, he's struggling to be a starter, but he's got 1 or 2 pitches. And if we put him in the bullpen, we can do X, Y, and Z with him, or at least get through a season. And then he's our property and we can do whatever we want. I just don't see him that way. I think I'd leave him unprotected personally. Omar Alfonso, catching prospect number 19 for the Pirates. Listen, hard contact, 11 home runs in 67 games at Greensboro. Pitchers like him. 26% caught stealing. He's struggled in Altoona, only hit .218 with a .637 OPS. It's likely not helping the big club in 2026, let alone 2025, obviously. I think I'd pass. Now, I probably had him as somebody that was for sure on my list earlier in the season, especially after he got promoted to AA. But now, and the acquisition of Flores as well, I just don't see the viable path, especially not to think that he's going to make it this year. And boy, it's a hard thing to make the league as a Roll 5 draft pickup as a position player. It's almost doubly hard to do so as a catcher. And I just don't think that he's had enough advanced level experience to be having this argument right now. Yeah, he's ranked high. It's based on his ceiling. If you're a rebuilding team and you're just trying to steal talent, I guess I could see it. But I just don't think there's enough teams that are in that situation this year that you're going to see it happen. And some of the ones that are, well, they've kind of got that position addressed. Like the Rockies have a good catcher who was one of the better hitters in baseball last year, right? That's not going to happen. You're not going to find a spot for him there. Let's move into Jack Brannigan. Jack Brannigan was somebody I thought for sure was going to have to be protected, and he started out this year proving my point. He's got power. He's got speed. He's hit 37 home runs with 36 stolen bases across 2 seasons. He's been injured quite a bit. The tolls are real. Injuries are real too. And he just had labrum surgery in July. It's harder to carry an injured rehabbing hitter all season on a 26 man. I think I'd pass on this one. But again, I think Brannigan does have a future. He is their 21st ranked prospect. I would pass on him this year, though, as far as protecting him from the Rule 5. I'm protecting 3, I think. Valdez, Bidois, and Kelly. My maybe is Dotel. But that starts to crowd the bullpen, and we'll talk about that next. Remember, Ryan Harbin is already on, which further suggests Bidois, Kelly, Dotel are going to be heavily considered by the club. Coming up, we'll make the room for these protections, non-tenders, cuts, and why the Pirates don't have to fill the 40 today. You're listening to Locked On Pirates, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, #1 podcast network for daily sports. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride that hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to the fourth quarter big comeback. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game interesting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com and sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Hey, welcome back to Locked On Pirates on the Locked On Podcast Network, the top-ranked network for daily sports podcasts. And we said we needed 1, maybe 2 spots to do this right. Last week, I told you I could create them immediately by non-tendering Jack Suwinski and Joey Bart. But most of you were supportive of that idea, but some of you weren't. So I would just throw an alternative in there. You could also look at just non-tendering Colin Holderman and Yohan Ramirez as additional pathways. And remember, that's just non-tender. It's not the only way to cut, okay? Here's the roster math pressure point. Right now, there are 21 of the 40 current spots as pitchers. If you protect Bidois and Kelly and Dotel, and you tender Holderman and Ramirez, I mean, you're going to have a ton of pitchers, right? That's unhealthy and frankly unrealistic for roster balance heading into the winter. So what should they do? In my opinion, I would protect Valdez, Bidois, and Kelly, like I said. I still like the Suwinski and Bart non-tenders as clean, immediate levers. Both are arbitration cases, and reallocating those dollars. I mean, that could be productive. They're smart. If they want to keep Suwinski or Bart, then holder relievers like Holderman or Ramirez become the pressure point, especially if you're adding multiple new relief profiles via Rule 5 protection. They do not have to fill the 40 today. They can, and they might, but they could also clear more than needed because they know they'll dip into free agency, regardless of the quality tier. We've seen them do this both ways under Ben Cherington. We've seen them clear out more spots than they needed to clear. We've seen them hold on to spots and then one by one replace them. Like there's a back end transaction for every transaction they make. That could very well be what they do. And some of you, when you pushed back on me about non-tendering Jack Suwinski or Joey Bart, I think at least on the Joey Bart part, some of you first have really held on to what he did in 2024 and just forgiven him for 2025. I don't know. Or just didn't hold him accountable for it at least. Listen, the batting average was okay, but that's not what Joey Bart's here for. And his glove makes it a situation where, I'm sorry, you can't afford to start him every day. So you can't get that bat in the lineup. And that's not a DH bat the way he hit in 2025. So I don't really want to hear that he should move into Kutch's spot. I need those home runs. You can replace Kutch, but I need more home runs than he hit to do it. And boy, I'm not sure I'm getting that from Bart. I'm really not. I'd perfectly be fine with getting rid of him. And I'd be perfectly fine with moving on from Suwinski. That said, your minds race right away to they're not going to do better to replace them. I can't tell you you're wrong because history tells me you're not. You haven't always been, at least. It's certainly not a lock that they'll improve on it. But I guess I look at it more like, listen, at some point you got to stop trying to pretend that you're going to fix something that you haven't fixed in a couple years, right? And Joey Bart is a guy that it's arguable that he had his most successful season after being claimed off waivers by the Pirates. I don't hold that against him or anything. I'm really happy that he did so well in 2024. But last year was a return to kind of what Joey Bart had been. There was a reason that he got waived from his original team after he was drafted second overall. First, they gave him a long time. Second, they developed better behind him. And I could say, okay, Pirates haven't done that yet, at least not something I can back up with statistics. But I think I've got better shots at it. Point is, I wouldn't mind just non-tendering all four of those guys and just having the extra spots. I don't care. But if you tender a guy, it means you're going to make an offer. It means you're going to go into the arbitration process. Now, you don't have to execute it. You can change your mind and DFA the guy later if you feel like it or whatever, but why mess with all that? You know, why mess with dealing with that process at all? This is a team that will squeeze a nickel out of anything they possibly can. And by tendering guys and then ultimately having to pay whatever the tender fee is, like, why would you do that on a team that operates the way this one does? To me, just make the decisions. Be done with it. And if you don't think you're done with Jack Suwinski, I'd like to hear your explanation. I don't mean you, the listener. I mean you, the Pirates. If you're not going to DFA or non-tender Jack Suwinski, I want to know what you think's changed. I want to know what you think you could change. If you really want me to believe that it's just like a different coach being around or different coaches or whatever, I find that difficult to believe. If only because Jack's now had different coaches a couple times, you know, and the problems that cropped up, well, they were kind of always there. He just happened to run into a lot more of them in his first couple seasons. Ran into a lot more balls in his first two seasons. Didn't go that way in his last two. But nothing else has really tangibly changed. A lot of the statistics are the same. A lot of the contact points are the same. A lot of the hard hit rates are the same. Really, the chase has gone down a little bit, but I'm not sure that's helped him. You know, in many ways, he might have been better when he was chasing a little bit because at least he, you know, hit one every once in a while as opposed to taking those fastballs. And Joey Bart, listen, I don't know. If he was injured all last year, they haven't come out and told us. You know, if there was something going on that caused a drastic drop in power from Joey Bart, I haven't heard it. And the average thing, well, I don't know that matters. I just don't. You know, he would get on base. There's nobody. I mean, like, that's the point. There's nobody driving you home because there's just no boppers. I don't need to hold on to dead weight anymore. You know, I want this team to kind of grow up a little bit, start growing up, start realizing you got to put a little bit more money into free agency, start realizing you got to let go of some prospects and make some trades, even if they seem painful on the surface. You got to start realizing that you don't need to hold on to non-tender candidates just in case, because you shouldn't accept that it's a possibility you'll fail to get what you need. Those are the types of urgency type things that they like to put into words and never into practice. Now, you hear Bob Nutting say that Ben and the whole baseball ops team knows the sense of urgency with which everything needs to be dealt with. And he's sure that that message has been hammered home, how important it is to focus on this year. Well, those are words. They're good words. Those are words you should be saying. But in practice, you watch if they don't do things like hold on to guys that you know they shouldn't. And the reason they'll do it is funny. As much as you'll resent it, it's your reason. It's the reason you gave me for why we should keep Joey Bart and or Jack Suwinski, or at least tender them, because you're deathly afraid they're not going to do better. Now, you have no control over whether they can do better. So it makes sense for you to have that fear and trepidation. But if I'm the general manager of this team or an executive of this team, I'm looking at an area I need to improve. And I'm sorry, I'm selling my beat up used car that barely gets me to work, knowing full well that I'm going to the dealer tomorrow and getting a new one come hell or high water. Like that's where the Pirates should be. They have plenty of money to be like that, especially for losing fringe guys that might just be a backup. This team should have very little consternation over getting spots, is the point. This shouldn't be that friggin' hard. Okay? It really shouldn't. Up next, the big picture. We're going to do roster health, flexibility for free agency, and what I think the Pirates will actually do compared to what I'd do. Plus a quick preview of tomorrow's show. All righty, everybody. Let's close strong here on Locked On Pirates. If you want to keep the conversation going, find me on socials. Find me on X at GaryMO2007 or Locked On Pirates. You can find me on Facebook at either of those handles as well. Instagram, YouTube. You can leave a comment wherever you like. Just stay in contact as best you can. Roster health matters. If you balloon to 24 pitchers on the 40-man, in November, you're going to be forced to churn later. Waivers, DFAs, 60-day IL, gymnastics, before you even address free agency. And that's why I recommend protect Valdez, Bidois, and Kelly, maybe Dotel. Create one or two spots now via non-tenders of Suwinski, Bart, Holderman, Ramirez, whatever. Keep the optionality. Don't feel compelled to fill the 40-man today if you don't have to. Leave room for whatever free agency brings. They'll protect multiple relievers, I think. I really think they will. Because they've already shown their hand a bit by adding Ryan Harbin and valuing power arms. So, I guess when I was making the arguments for who you should and shouldn't protect them, I'm talking about the ups and downs of Antoine Kelly and Dotel and, I guess to a degree Bidois, although I think he's a little bit less of a controversial one, especially with the amount of AAA track he laid down last year. But when you really look at how they protected Ryan Harbin and why they protected Ryan Harbin, first, he was going to be a minor league free agent, so that's why the decision came earlier. But second, it's not about what he necessarily is ready to do right now. It's about having a big skill set with a high velocity pitch that they really, really like. It's hard to teach that sort of thing. And you get that sort of thing from a guy, even if it's raw, you want to keep it in the mix. So I understand that. But by doing that, they've shown me that Antoine Kelly and Wilber Dotel are the same exact types of guys. I think it's just as questionable for all three of those, Ryan Harbin, Wilber Dotel, and Antoine Kelly, to necessarily be counted on to provide anything in 2026 for the Pittsburgh Pirates major league organization, right? And if that's the question, I guess you have to wonder, are you jumping the gun a bit? Are you doing it a year early? This is the kind of thing that really makes somebody like Dotel in particular be a big time question mark for me. For one thing, he's done almost just as much good as he has bad. And while I do see the ceiling there, it's very hard for me to make a case that he's ready to contribute in 2026. I wouldn't rule it out. If you came to me and you said, hey, is Dotel going to contribute anything in 2026? I might tell you at some point, if he continues to progress the way he has, at some point I could see that. Antoine Kelly, same thing. At some point, I think Bidois got a chance to be in the conversation right in spring. I really do. And I guess if you really want to be blunt about a bullpen, that's kind of what you're looking for. You're looking for somebody that just peaks. It doesn't mean that what he did last year doesn't matter, but you're going to be looking at those guys as, oh my goodness, that's what he's doing right this second. Well, okay, let's get him up there. And you're not going to care so much what level they've reached or anything like that. If they've fixed their issues and they can be a relief arm, they're going to get an opportunity. And that's what this team's going to do. I think they've proven that. I think they've proven that already with their moves that they've made this offseason. They've also held on to an awful lot of these guys. They really have. Through thick and thin, we've seen them be extra patient with some of their pickups. And they're good at this. They're good at knowing. They really are. They're even good at going out and acquiring relievers. They tend to know what they're doing. Chase Sugar, really good, right? They did some really good things this year with that bullpen. We didn't even talk a lot about all of the guys. Isaac Matson was a guy they just literally found out of nowhere. Independent league baseball, right? So it doesn't take a lot for them to give you a shot as a reliever. But this protection aspect, I think it's a big decision. You figure this team's got to sign some free agents. And I don't know if one of them is going to be named Kutch. I think it will be, but you got Kutch. You know you're going to have to get an outfielder. Whether you make any cuts like I suggested or not, you're going to need an outfielder, at least one, right? You got middle infield is still an issue. I'm not sure who plays shortstop. I'm not. I'm pretty sure Triolo is penciled in at third base if they don't pick anything up, but shortstop is a little bit more tricky. I'm not sure they have an answer there. I have some guys that I'd try there, and you guys are going to comment Gonzalez or Triolo or whoever. But it's a question until they answer it. I get that. But I just don't think that I don't think that it's stupid to imagine how many guys you're going to have to bring in free agency and at least think about leaving some spots or at least being willing to cut some guys. This 40-man roster is loaded to the gill. I mean, it really is. You can move a lot of guys too. We've counted these up before on this show, and it's changed slightly from the time that we did that. But I go through the pitcher list right now, and I got Johan Ramirez as somebody that I would non-tender. You got Cam Sanders I'd probably let go. Evan Sisk, I wasn't all that impressed with, but he's their only lefty. So I don't see them moving on from him. That's a pretty full list already. I can see them adding a few more guys to it, is the point. But I don't think I need Joey Bart anymore. I just don't. I don't think that I don't know that I need to see any more out of Ronnie Simon. Do I need to see more Emmanuel Valdez? I could go on. Will Robertson. Do we keep going on? Jack Suwinski. There's plenty of scrapple here is the point. Move on. Just move on. I think they're going to probably avoid getting stuck with excess of 24 pitchers, that's probably your area of fat to look at that hasn't been mentioned as much, is trimming the pitching a little bit. It could be laying the foundation for some trades from the list of 40-man pitchers. That could be something to kind of look for here as you see that number get so out of whack. It wouldn't surprise me if they clear more than they need to today, just to keep the lane open for free agencies and make it easier. Tomorrow, we're going to compare what the Pirates actually wind up doing today against what I recommended. We'll talk about who they protect, who they cut, and what it signals about the offseason plan. We'll grade it, we'll talk about it, and we'll talk about what comes next. Because this is the first major decision point this offseason. This is the first time that we get direct clues about some of the thinking of this upper management team as we head into 2026. Let's say they go as crazy as I have suggested and just start whacking that non-tender list and just start cutting some of those safety valves that I mentioned on the roster that you would have no problem moving on from. It'll give us a whole different picture of really what to expect moving forward. I can't wait to see what we can take from it. I hope you're there with me. This has been a fun show, everybody. I hope this rest of the week will be just as fun. I hope the Pirates do some good things tonight. Smart things. Let's hope they don't hold on to talent that probably doesn't really have a lane. And remember, we're serious about Pirates baseball because somebody has to be. Let's go Bucks.